Okay, so this is my review of the Pixel 10 Pro. I'm actually filming on it right now just for this quick little blurb here. I didn't have a lot of time with this device. It is flipping awesome. You can skip ahead to like, I don't know, 2 minutes, just past 2 minutes. I didn't have a lot of time with the device, so instead I sort of had a punk rock song created to review the Pixel because, well, why not? Anyhow, skip ahead if you don't want to listen to the song. Otherwise, I'm just going to rant about the Pixel 10 Pro. Have fun.
Shady color popping, yeah, it's looking real tight. 6.3 rate, both feel right. 120 hertz OLED, buttery clean. Watching Demon Slayer on a vivid screen. 100 times zoom, I can get real close. Triple lenses on the back, doing the most. Gemini AI, thinking sharp and right. Can Goku really beat Saitama in a fight? Speakers blast clear, yeah, the sound's no joke. Hella bright ass screen, it cuts through smoke. Pixel snap clicks on, pretty much MagSafe. Sweaty palms are moist, but the grip's a rave. Pixel 10 Pro is the king of the scene. 120 hertz, smoothest thing I've seen. With the Tensor G5, it's a rocket in disguise. 16 gigs of RAM, yeah, it's blowing my mind. It's blowing my mind. Comes in jade, obsidian, and porcelain too. Moonstone exists, but change my view. Pixel in my pocket, blink 182. Feeling brand new in that silver green. Post it in the group chat, I don't care. Pixel does everything, I have no hair. Games, vids, and calls, it's all such a breeze. And everything device hurts when I sneeze. J-Flex with a click so clean. 120 hertz on that Pixel screen. 6.3 or 6.8. Pixel 10 Pro, yeah, it's feeling great. It's feeling great.
So I've been thinking, what if there was a device that you or I could purchase that will easily be the smartphone that you could use over the next 10 years? And having used this for the last couple days, I honestly think that the Pixel 10 Pro could be that for a lot of people out there. I truly believe that this phone could sustain me for my work, my life, my social media, everything in between for the next decade if I wanted it to. And it's sort of hard to think of an upgrade that I would need that would replace this device. I have been an iPhone 13 mini user for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. Whenever this thing came out, I think 2020 or 2021. And this has been my device ever since then. And every so often, a company makes a device literally so good that you don't really need to change off of that device. That said, when Google started making their Pixel lineup, especially with their own silicon, I've always sort of been interested, but never really had the opportunity to give it a try up until now. And to be clear, I don't hold any sort of allegiance to any sort of brand or operating system. I don't care if it's Android, iOS, Samsung, Google, Apple, whatever the case may be. If it's dope tech, I'm gonna give it a fair shot. Even over the last year, I've been using a Dumbphone as my primary device. Of course, I've had the chance to use my faithful iPhone 13 mini. I've checked out the Nothing Phone 3 more recently, and of course, the Pixel 10 Pro. All of those devices, they're gonna have their strengths and weaknesses. They're all gonna be different from one another in some way. They're all also gonna be absolutely incredible. And hopping onto something like the Pixel 10 Pro, it's honestly easy to see at this point that modern recent devices are almost boring because of how good they are, if that makes any sense. I can't say that's a bad thing because they're all just so good at this point. Most people watching this are probably using a super old phone right now, something that's incredibly sluggish, but is still getting the job done. That, or you're probably just putting up with the nuisance of an older device. If that's you, I get it. I've been there. My iPhone 13 mini is definitely kicking the bucket. I could replace the battery or I can move on. That's a decision I'm still trying to make. And if it's not obvious already, I'm not the guy who upgrades his phone every single year, which is probably why something like the Pixel 10 Pro seems so special in my case, at least. I will say jumping to the Pixel 10 Pro from something like my iPhone 13 mini feels absolutely monumental. And it's sort of like, if anybody's familiar with the MacBooks, if you remember the leap from Intel to the M1 and M2 Apple Silicon chips, that's like a generational era shift in terms of technology. And I feel like we're sort of getting to that point with these Android chipsets where the Tensor G5 simply flies. It's more than definitely the leap forward a lot of people need. Now, go ahead and roast me in the comments. I realize the Tensor G5 isn't going to be on the same benchmark as something like the Snapdragon 8 Elite, but that is definitely a conversation for another day. For a majority of people, I truly don't think it matters. And here's the truth. A lot of the tech world tries to convince you you need the latest and greatest on every single thing, every single year, which really, truly isn't the case. They'll nitpick all the incremental differences between the Snapdragon 8 Elite and the Tensor G5 because they already have the latest and greatest of everything anyhow. If you're on a Pixel 7 or an 8, you're probably still okay, and you could likely last another year, 2, maybe even 3. If you are coming from older hardware like the Pixel 5, 6, Galaxy S20, whatever the case may be, this will be a good chunk of an upgrade for you in this case. This specific model is pretty much peak when it comes down to a flagship device. It's gonna have the flagship chip, it's gonna have 16 gigs of RAM, you can get up to a terabyte of storage if you need it. That can hold your entire digital life. I'm not sure who needs that much space, but it's an option if you need it. And everything else on here is gonna be awesome. The camera, obviously the OLED screen, the speakers on here, everything's gonna be an incredible package on here. I'm not gonna dive too much into that because everybody's already done a video on that stuff, and there's not much else I can add to it apart from the fact that, yes, it's flipping awesome. That isn't to say there aren't some downsides to this device. I myself am huge into videography. The photography, the camera on here, I can say is A+ when it comes down to the photo side of things. You've heard everybody talk about the 100 times zoom. That's actually pretty flipping cool. Will I use it every day? Probably not, but it's nice to have it. And the camera and the photography does incredible on here. That said, there are going to be some features missing on here. I would have loved to see log recording. That's something that I hold dear when it comes down to a camera. My iPhone 13 mini didn't have it, but you know, the iPhone 15 Pro and 16 Pro, they have something like log recording, and I really dig that. Do most people really care about all of that? No, not really. That is definitely a me thing. We're at the point with these devices where they definitely become like a 5 or 7 year phone. They're not begging to be replaced every year. The only limitation to these devices is sort of just what you do on it. Naturally, you're not going to be playing Grand Theft Auto 5 on a device like this, but it doesn't particularly exist. Naturally, we'll be waiting for that day. This phone isn't going to stop you from being connected, and it's not going to bottleneck your productivity. Now, obviously, I am a bit of a lighter user, but if I want a 2-day battery, this is the phone. If I want to lean harder into photography, this is easily the phone. If I need a device for content creation, social media, everything in between, obviously enough, this is the phone. It's going to handle pretty much everything without breaking a sweat. And it's funny to talk about the Tensor G5 again. It's not the most powerful chipset, but a lot of people are kind of stoked for this device because it sort of changes the conversation a bit. It's awesome because we're at the point where we don't need a higher benchmark number on a sheet of paper to actually have a good smartphone experience. And across anything that you might want to do on here, it's pretty much going to cover you fine. Even worse than my Pixel 10 Pro. I was using the chipset in my Nothing Phone 3, whatever the chipset that was, it was apparently mid-range, and that even held up perfectly fine. And look, at the same time, I'm not gonna pretend like new tech isn't absolutely awesome, because it is. I used to be the guy that would buy a new iPhone every single year because I just wanted to. I would save money and put it aside instead of spending it on clothes and watches and alcohol. I would just buy a new iPhone every year because it made me happy. Now, obviously, I'm not that guy anymore, but when I get a new phone, I take better photos. Not because the phone is better, because it's marginally better than last year's, but because it motivates me to actually go out and shoot. I'm thinking more about the process. I'm enjoying everything about it, so I'm excited to use it. And that, for a lot of people, is enough. If you want to upgrade your phone every year, if you want to get the Pixel 11 Pro next year, go for it. It's nobody's business but your own, but the Pixel 10 Pro will easily last me the next 5 to 7 years if I need it to. And that's sort of where we get lucky as tech heads, creators, photographers, whatever the case may be, everyday users. Phones like this now landing in our pockets is simply absurd. We don't really need to chase specs as much as we once had. We don't need to worry too much about benchmarks because all those tiny differences in speed don't really make that big of a difference anymore. Just get the phone that's within your budget, whether that's the normal 10, if it's the 10 Pro, if you want half a terabyte of storage, a terabyte of storage, buy whatever's within your budget and use it. If it doesn't work, return it. That's the best part about it. For most people, the regular Pixel 10 is probably going to be fine, and the 10 Pro is more than fine. But yeah, the 10 Pro, absolutely incredible. And even more impressive, to me at least, was the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. I got to check that out a little bit early, and that was probably the coolest piece of tech I've seen in the last 4 years, which is amazing. Still, as somebody who doesn't upgrade their phone every single year with no allegiance to brand, operating system, whatever the case may be, the Pixel 10 hits the mark. I'm looking forward to checking out the iPhone 17 Air or whatever comes out. I'm sure that's going to hit the mark as well. And yeah, that's my perspective. The Pixel 10 Pro could easily be your phone for the next 5 or 7 years. Not because new phones won't come out, because they will, but because this thing already does everything you might need it to do. But that's just me. If you want to talk about it down below in the comment section, let me know what you guys think about the Pixel 10 Pro. I think it's pretty sweet, but let me know what you guys think. Appreciate you watching till the end. Till next time.